couple of minutes of patience, please. Is everybody there already, Mr. Schulas? Or do we still miss somebody?
I think now we are all here.
Okay.
I just saw Miss Martina Herman right now.
It's okay. We won't wait for her.
Welcome.
Hello. So, good afternoon, everybody. I am really excited that this is happening. And I will have to greet everybody quickly in Vienna and in Ioannina, and all the teachers and the students and the ministers, of course, and Mrs. Herman, who is the vice ambassador in Athens, of the Austrian embassy, of course, in Athens. And so actually, I should say the vice head of mission of Austria in Athens, and everybody else who is watching. And without further ado, I would like to get us started because we don't have lots of time, and also we have a small change in schedule. Now, first of all, I will have to introduce myself. My name is Maria Vasilakou. I was born and grew up in Greece, but I have spent more than half of my life in Austria. So I think this made me more or less the logical choice to moderate this wonderful event. And without further ado, I would like to pass the word to the Austrian Federal Minister for Environment, Mrs. Leonore Gewessler, to just say hello to us. Please, Mrs. Gewessler.
Hello. Hi. Hello to everybody. Thank you very much, Maria, for the kind introduction. I'm very excited that we have this opportunity today because I think we all, we had tough times with Corona in all of our countries, but we all know that the environmental issues, that climate protection, that's the key challenges and the key issues of our time. And I'm very happy that I'm here today and I can discuss with young people, because what we're doing in our ministries, of course, it affects everybody now, but it affects most of us, most of all young generations. You are the people we build the future for. So it's really very exciting to have this exchange together, because if we want to solve the big issues we have at hand, climate change, the climate crisis, then we need to work across generations, but we also need to work across countries. We can always learn from each other. We can inspire each other. We can learn from each other's difficulties, but also from each other's solutions. So I'm very much looking forward to this dialogue, very excited that this can take place today, and very pleased to welcome everybody, and also looking forward to hearing more about the challenges and the ideas from Greece.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Mrs. Minister. Now I would like to pass the word briefly to the Greek Vice Minister for Environment, Mr. Amiras. Please, Mr. Minister.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to participate at this web conference that confirms our common to build bridges of cooperation between the two schools, the two ministries, between our regions, and of course between our students, so as to protect the environment. This is our huge and nice goal. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Minister. Now, I have some bad news, and the bad news are that the minister, the Greek vice minister, will have to leave because he has an emergency. So we have a small change in program, which means that we will skip the greetings from the two teachers. We will just start with the presentation of the Greek school, and no worries, I know how to go about this so that everybody can get to talk and to listen to each other, at least almost everybody. So please, the Greek students, could you please start your presentation? And you know, I have to be very strict, 10 minutes altogether.
Good morning. I'm Vasiliki Kromenou, and as a junior high school student at ZOGRAFEIO School, I would like to thank you for the unique experience you give us to contact you, to talk to important politicians of Greece and Austria who decide on critical environmental issues of the two countries. Dear Deputy Minister, every year in our country, large areas of forest land are destroyed by fires. Despite the measures you take, the problem remains, and every year, Greece loses valuable forest areas. What does a national reforestation program involve? Will there be provision for students to participate voluntarily in the national tree planting campaign? We, as students of the ZOGRAFEIO School, want to participate voluntarily in the tree planting project that will take place in our area. I don't know if it would be possible, but I would like to ask you to consider, in collaboration with the Austrian Minister, MS Leonore Giveslar, the prospect of organizing a joint tree planting at the same time in areas of Ioannina and Vienna, which we will implement with our classmates from the two schools. Thank you.
So please proceed the next one. I think you should just proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Ekaterini Panagiotopoulou, and as a junior high school student at the ZOGRAFEIO School, I would like to thank you because two important personalities of the political life of Greece and Austria share their valuable time with us and provide us an innovative environmental lesson. Dear Deputy Minister, the lake of our city, Pamvotida, one of the oldest lakes in Europe with a history of 2 million years, is a landmark of Ioannina and synonymous with the history and culture of the region. It is part of the Natura network of protected areas, but faces many problems from crops, landfills, infection, urban wastewater, and poaching. Seeing the lakes of Austria, such as the Lake Ahenzi, the Lake Monzi, the Lake Mistrodici, and the Lake Chalaxi, and especially the excellent way they have been treated, we would like at some point to enjoy our own lake in a similar way and in a way that we respect the environment and highlight the quality of life of our fellow citizens. Because we know your personal interest in the lake of our city and the solution of the problems that Pamvotida is facing, as a minister, what actions are you thinking of taking to protect and promote it? Thank you.
Next one, please.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Voropoulou. I'm a junior high school student and I feel very happy about this unique experience. As a student at the Greek Austrian School ZOGRAFEIO, I consider it my honor to talk to you and thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate equally with you in a public debate about the environment. Dear Deputy Minister, our country is making more and more progress in the production of clean green energy, and you personally have made a significant contribution to the fight against climate change. The production of wind energy, solar energy, and biomass is growing rapidly in our country and creates many environmental benefits and job opportunities. However, in the case of wind energy parks, many problems arise from the refusal of some local communities to accept the installation of wind turbines. In the region of Epirus, which is a mountainous area, there are many similarities with the case of Austria. How will you deal with this problem and what do you intend to do to solve it? Can the example of Austria in the field of wind energy be a guide for our region and our country? I think that in this case, the experience of our Austrian minister, Mrs. Leonore Giveslar, can be valuable for our country as well. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. The next one, please.
Good morning, I'm Hysria Papageorgiou, a junior high school student at the ZOGRAFEIO School. And certainly, the word thank you is not enough to express my gratitude for the opportunity to participate with you in a transnational ministerial level discussion. Today's event confirms the Greek cultural character of our school and opens channels of communication and cooperation between the two ministers, MS Leonore Gevesla and Mr. George Amiras, and of course between the two schools, ZOGRAFEIO and VALS. Dear Deputy Minister, you are well aware of the huge problem that has been created in the natural environment of Epirus due to the deadly fungus Ceratocystis platani that kills age-long plane trees throughout the region and changes the landscape and biodiversity in our place. Unfortunately, the deadly fungus is the most serious environmental threat to the country's forest ecosystems. The plane trees are in danger of extinction. The destruction of the plane trees will cause other huge damages because they retain the carbon materials and prevent floods that destroy crops and infrastructure. How do you plan to deal with the problem of saving plane trees in our area? In closing, please let me, dear MS Leonore Gevesla, Austrian Federal Minister for Climate Protection, the Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology, dear Mr. George Amiras, Deputy Minister of Environment and Energy of Greece, dear MS Martina Herman, Deputy Head of Mission of the Austrian Embassy in Athens, Mrs. Maria Vasilakou, former Deputy Mayor of Vienna, dear Ms. Tamara Gal-Huba, on behalf of the Directorate of VALS Wiener Land Zentrum, dear students from VALS Wiener Land Zentrum, to invite you to visit our city, Ioannina, known as the City of Arts and Sciences of Greece, and of course our school, the Greek Costume School ZOGRAFEIO. Thank you so much, and we're waiting for your arrival.
Well, thanks. We're packing our suitcases right now, but thank you so much for this wonderful preparation and for this time discipline. Now, as the Greek minister will have to leave us in a couple of minutes, I would like to pass the word directly to him. So, Mr. Minister, what do you have to say to all this?
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Vasilakou, and allow me to salute dear Federal Minister for Climate Protection, the Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology, Mrs. Leonore Gevesla. Sorry about my Austrian pronunciation. It's not good, I know that. Allow me to express my honest admiration about your background with the NGOs and your activism initiatives throughout the years. So, let me answer now to the wonderful questions of our students. First was Vasiliki. Well, dear Vasiliki, as per the nationwide reforestation plan, well, the big news is that we are planning to plant 30 million trees in several degraded forest ecosystems in Greece.
That's good news.
30 million trees. Well, an astonishing number and a massive tree planting project that will start in a few months now, in 2021, and it is estimated to be completed by 2028. The cost of the investment will be covered partly by the Recovery and Resilience Facility, and the whole amount of money we're gonna spend, it is almost €500 million. So the main objectives of this project are the following. First, green transition by restoring several degraded forest ecosystems. Second, policies for the next generation, for you, by participating in reforestation actions and education on the importance of the natural environment. So yes, you are very welcome to participate in that project. And also, this is a main goal, that health, economic, social, and institutional resilience by improving air quality and access to the natural environment. So this is my answer, dear Vasiliki. I hope you are satisfied by that.
Thanks for these actions. It's very important.
Thank you very much. So let me answer to Katerina. Katerina asked me about the lake in our city, Pamvotis Lake. Well, let me be very straightforward. First of all, we couldn't do more than protecting and promoting our lake with the scientific guidance of the National Environment and Climate Agency. It's a new agency, a new organization, and which will be working on all the environmental issues of Pamvotis Lake. Also, we are working here in the ministry on the presidential decree, including the protection rules to be released in the next few months. It's a huge step. And of course, Lake Pamvotis is both a rich natural habitat and a place of history. Many cultures have been drawn here by the beauty and generosity of Lake Pamvotis, and that, in fact, is its name. Pamvotis, I'm absolutely sure that you are aware of that. Pamvotis means the great provider. So the lake is a rich habitat, and we're gonna do our best to protect it and be sure that the environment that belongs to will be always healthy. So I'm going to the other question, which was from Varvara about the renewable energy sources. Is it correct, Varvara?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, let me tell you first something, that the energy, the Greek energy sector is still largely dependent on fossil fuels, most of which are imported. Well, domestic energy sources include lignite, which accounted for around 29% of electricity generation, as well as renewable energy sources such as hydropower, wind, solar energy, and biomass, which accounted for 11.3%, 12%, 7.5%, and almost 1%, respectively. These are also objectives for the renewable energy sources share in gross final electricity consumption to reach at least 60%. The area share in covering heating and cooling needs to exceed 40%, and the area share in the transport sector to exceed 14%. So, yes, we do need to take advantage of the sun and the wind, following many other European countries, as you said previously, like Austria. But we're gonna do it in a cautious and effective way by securing our mountains, our forests, and mostly the biodiversity of this amazing and beautiful country. And now I'm going to the final question, which was from Chrysoula. Well, Chrysoula, yes, we are fully aware of the huge problem that has been created in the natural environment of Epirus due to the deadly fungus, which is named Keratocystis platani, that kills age-long plane trees throughout the region and changes the landscape and biodiversity in our place. So I do personally call every one of you, as well-informed citizens, to inform the local forest office if you are out on a walk and locate any infected trees, invoking your commitment as young citizens. We do follow a certain protocol, though, to deal with that illness of the trees by proceeding sampling and checks on the trees around Greece and, of course, in our region. All the trees found infected are uprooted, and the white region 150 meters around the trees under surveillance so as to limit the transmission of the virus. So I know that this is a problem that has been around the last 20 years, and I believe that responsible citizenship is the key for our green transition as a nation and to deal with that terrible illness of the trees. So thank you very much for your questions, and I'm very proud to participate that amazing talk with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. We realize that you will have to leave now, but
unfortunately, I'm sorry about that, but you know, it's something that I cannot avoid it.
What has to be done needs to be done. So exactly. We wish you all the best of luck. And without further ado, we will pass now the word to Mr. Sioulas, the director of the ZOGRAFEIO, who will now will greet us, which you should have done in the beginning, but in the end of the day, he has a statement, and please, Mr. Schulas, go on.
Welcome to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you very much. Dear Ms. Leonor Gewessler, Austrian Federal Minister of Climate Protection, the Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology. Dear Ms. Georgia Miras, Deputy Minister of the Environment and Energy of Greece. Ms. Martina Herman, Deputy Head of Mission of the Austrian Embassy in Athens. Ms. Maria Vasilakou, former Deputy Mayor of Vienna. Dear Ms. Tamara Galhuber, for Valls Lern Zentrum. Dear students of ZOGRAFEIO School and Valls. Dear guests who are watching us now online, thank you for joining us today. Our presence at this web conference confirms our common will come closer against the COVID pandemic, to build bridges of cooperation between our two schools, between the two ministries, between our region, and of course, between our students. It's a great honor for us to talk with the Austrian Minister, Ms. Leonor Gewessler, who is an excellent example to follow in a European and global level because of her important work and on a daily basis regarding her area of responsibility, and especially the critical area of environmental protection. According to figure, the minister should feel proud of her work, as Austria ranks first in the world on the Environmental Performance Index for the year 2020. On Saturday, we are celebrating the World Environment Day, and personally, as a citizen of this country, I feel the need to publicly thank the Greek Deputy Minister, Ms. Georgia Miras, because in the short time of his presence in this critical ministry, the country has achieved a lot, and it's very close to the European goals. Mr. Minister, thank you for your great contribution concerning the protection of the environment by dealing with the consequences of the climate change and upgrading the quality of life for all of us. Ms. Maria Vasilakou, in order for our students and those who are following us online to get you know better, let me introduce you as a great Greek woman who has excelled in the local political, intellectual, social, and scientific life of Vienna, Austria, and of the European Union. You have been a successful Deputy Mayor of Vienna for 9 years, a member of the Parliament for Vienna as well, and Vice President of the Austrian Political Parliamentary Party, while you still offer a lot in the European Union by participating in the implementation of the Horizon European Research and Innovation Program. Last but not least, you were awarded by the Deputy Director of the famous Diplomatic Academy in Vienna, Mr. Michael Kulen, along with the leading Greek composer, Mr. Theodorakis, with the Citizen of the World Award. Ms. Tamara Galhuber, thank you for agreeing to create joint actions between the two schools. Today's web conference is the beginning for a constructive cooperation that will include the participation of our students in joint European educational programs, in actions that will promote the mobility of the students to Austria and Greece respectively, and will strengthen the exchange of know-how and the adoption of a good educational practice. I'm looking forward to listening to our students, raise important issues to the two ministers, making us feel proud of them and giving us strength and optimism for a better tomorrow. ZOGRAFEIO School is a European school which introduces elements for Austrian education and educational process, promotes extroversion, and provides stimuli and supplies to our students, so they will be good students and responsible people and succeeded in becoming academic citizens and successful scientists in Greece, Austria, and the wider European area as well. Let me tell you that we live in Ioannina, the capital of the Epirus region in the northwestern Greece, in an area with which is our country's border to the Western Balkans and Central Europe, in an area with a rich history, with a multicultural past, with a unique natural environment, with many, many great monuments and an important cultural tradition. Most Greek national benefactors come from our region, such as Christakis Zographos, Nikolaos Doumbas, Simon Sinas, Georgios Stavro, and many more. And to conclude, I would like especially to thank Ms. Martina Herman, the Deputy Head of Mission of the Austrian Embassy in Athens, for her valuable help and guidance we receive every day in this difficult task of promoting the Greek-Austrian interconnection. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Director Sioulas. And well, now let's all welcome Waltz, the Viennese Austrian School. Hip hip hooray. And let's pass the word to Mrs. Tamara Galhuber, who is accompanying her students today and should start with a small greeting. Please, Mrs. Galhuber.
There you go. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us, and congratulations on this idea for the project. It's really a great idea, Director Sioulas. We would love to show you around Waltz personally, but that's not going to happen today. So I've just taken some pictures of my way to work this morning, so that's not it. So this is the entrance to the Waltz here in Vienna. It's a beautiful day. This is also as a taster for you lovely students in Greece. We hope to welcome you here, obviously, as soon as possible. So this is coming into the reception hall. You can see some art. And on the left-hand side, there is our courtyard downstairs. You can also see some herbs and our kitchen area. Now, the Waltz was founded, I'll just tell you a little bit about the Waltz. It was founded in the year 2000 by our beautiful director, Renate Korher, and she sent her apologies. She also hopes to welcome you to the Waltz as soon as possible. And the school was founded on 3 pillars. The first one, obviously, like Director Sioulas already mentioned, is higher education. So students from 14 to 19, they graduate with the Austrian Matura, it's called, a high school certificate. So we are looking to educate, as you also said, responsible European citizens for the next century, or for this century. The second pillar is personal development. That has also already been mentioned. Responsibility for your actions, self-governance, huge when it comes to education. Like, what am I actually, how do I behave, and how am I contributing constructively to the world around me? And the third pillar of our foundation is best described in our name. So even though Waltz may remind you of the dance, and dancing is a subject at the school, it actually relates to a tradition from the 14th century where tradesmen would have to do a certain amount of work experience before calling themselves painters, carpenters, or before they had their qualification. And that's what our founder believes in as well, and that's what we offer to our students. Just a picture from a project. So we have lots of different projects. There's theater, we do outdoor survival skills. We do a forest project where we actually log trees and build tracks. So all of that to allow students to learn by doing. And the reason I've showed you all this is because we appreciate the world around us, and we also believe in connection with the world around us. And that's exactly what I believe this project stands for. And that's why, again, thank you so much for involving us.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Galhuber. Well, I would indeed have loved to be a student of Waltz, as I would indeed have loved to have been a student of ZOGRAFEIO if I had had the privilege to grow up in Giannana. But as things are, I grew up in Athens and went somewhere else. Now, the students of Waltz, it's your turn. So please get started. As already with ZOGRAFEIO, you first introduce yourselves and then, one by one. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Lai, and today I will be talking about waste disposal caused by the pandemic in Vienna. Well, it's not a secret that the pandemic is affecting our environment heavily. So far, more than 1.5 billion masks have ended up in our oceans, along with other pandemic litter. But corona waste is not the was hab ich gesagt, scheiße. But corona waste is not only affecting the oceans, but also the nature surrounding us. We have been trashing this planet for the last decades, and now that we were all stuck at home for the last year, wearing a new mask every time we left our house and only doing our shopping online, it has gotten way worse. As a result of the more common online shopping, a lot more plastic has been produced, and the shipping process is not exactly wonderful for our climate as well. If you decided to take a walk around Vienna, one of the things you might have seen are the masks that are lying on the grounds of our city. On the streets, in the parks, literally everywhere you go, you will find at least one of them carelessly tossed away. Or worse, when you're taking a walk outside in nature, you might not find them at all because they're hidden from sight. As you know, masks are not biodegradable. That means it will take many, many years for them to decompose completely. So, the only realistic option we have for them is to burn them. But for that to happen, the masks must end up in a general waste bin. Not in our streets, not in our parks, and most certainly not in the wrong litter bins. It's not like the people of Vienna don't have the opportunity to walk up to the general waste bin and throw their masks in there, but somehow masks still find their way to the paper recycling bin, or really any other litter bin. This cannot go on. The same issue is caused by COVID tests because they often end up in the wrong trash cans as well. In general, the COVID tests are made of plastic and are not reusable. If we could find a way to recycle them, we could get one step closer to stopping the waste of so much plastic. I believe that these issues are not only very important for Vienna, but also for the whole world. And if we don't find a way to deal with them, they will cause long-term damage. Thank you for your attention and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Next one, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alma Schimmel, and I would like to address an issue referring to recycling in Vienna. As we hopefully all know, recycling is extremely important, and fortunately, Austria provides us with the opportunity to separate our trash. Although, as I did a lot of research on this topic, it has come to my knowledge that quite a few areas in Vienna only offer general waste bins. I visited the Stadt Wien homepage and found a map marking every litter bin in Vienna other than the residual waste, and was shocked to see the first district and a few other areas mark an almost blank spot on the city map. I also asked a few people who live in the first district why they wouldn't recycle their trash properly and received a quite simple answer. They just didn't have a reasonable opportunity to separate their trash. In average, a person produces about 1.5 tons of garbage per year. And if that garbage can barely be recycled, a large amount of reusable raw materials is lost. In general, about 1/5 of all the food that is purchased lands in the trash. Apart from the fact that it's ethically questionable to throw away such large amounts of food while there are shortages in other parts of the world, it's also a shame to burn the organic waste besides the general waste when you could at least compost it into fertile soil. Wouldn't it be likely for more people to start recycling their trash if they had an easier access to it? Finally, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to address my issue.
Thank you very much. Next one, please.
Hi, hello. Hi, my name is Ben Rhea. I'm 15 years old, and today I would like to address a problem that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time now. We see it everywhere. Simply walking through an aisle of a supermarket, you notice the massive amounts of plastic packaging that are used for the smallest things like chocolate candy. Some items are even wrapped in plastic twice. In this case, me as a consumer, I find myself sort of powerless to being able to do anything about this problem. My question is how, or even if the government regulates how companies package their products. It can't be that every single product, including fruits and vegetables, are wrapped in plastic. In particular, plastic water bottles are a mystery to me. Why we even sell mineral waters in supermarkets in the first place. As a Viennese, I'm proud to say that we've got one of the best and cleanest tap waters in the whole world. That's why I asked myself how there is so much plastic waste from water bottles if we've got exceptional water that we can get from our taps at home. The only thing that I have seen the government do is stop the selling of one-way plastic like straws, plates, etc. There's no question that this is bad, but it isn't nearly enough to make a huge difference. My solution to this is to regulate the use of plastic packaging more strictly so companies utilize as little plastic as possible. Mineral water bottles, I think, shouldn't be sold in general. Instead, there should be many more public water fountains built near supermarkets if in need of a refreshment. This is important to me because it hurts me to see plastic so carelessly thrown on the ground and end up in our nice and pretty Danube and streets of Vienna and the whole of Austria, especially when I don't have the power to really do anything about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben. Next one, please. I think this is Ruben's turn, right?
Yeah, I'm here. Just had to unmute. So I'm gonna focus on the motivation of people, because I have noticed that a lot of people don't actually know that much about their own impact or just don't care in general. Because maybe they have a family and a job, so the rest of the spare free time they have, you don't want to spend hours doing your own research. But there is getting attention. Like Greta Thunberg, she's done her whole Fridays for Future thing that was spread all around the world and raised a lot of awareness, which is great. But if we look at it now, it's not exactly relevant anymore. It's lost attention, and with that, people aren't as motivated. But there are still some people who try their best to use the least amount of one-time use items and buy the least amount of plastic bottles. But as Ben has just said, at this day and age, it's not easy or a challenge to use. Like, no plastic is pretty much impossible. But even if some people care, so many people don't. So how can we inspire them and motivate them? Because not caring and knowing what impact you have is a very common thing. A lot of people don't even know what trash to throw in which trash. So about 600,000 tons of recyclable items like glass end up in the general waste bins every year. And all that has increased to the whole coronavirus thing as well. So I think time's long overdue that some people with real power are gonna do things and step up, maybe get creative, invest in some ideas. I mean, cars are going in a great direction, using up less and less CO2. There's a solar field being constructed in the Sahara, which is fabulous. But there's still all this plastic being used in packaging, like in supermarkets or online shopping, or addressing politicians in general. You've shown how much good you can do very quickly. For example, with the coronavirus, you made everyone wear masks overnight. So you have this influence on and control over people. So if you manage to do that, so why can't we do more with the climate? I've seen your campaigns and advertisement, which is great, but I think it could be more effective because it's not as appealing to the youth, I think at least. And this whole climate thing is not a new issue. It's been going on for decades now. And we've seen conferences of politicians talking about it, which is great. And then you take some actions, but if we're going to be honest, it's really not enough. I think if you're going to hold speeches, you also need to do actions, because actions speak louder than words do. If you would lead by example to show that you actually care, it would inspire people to, because they would realize how important it actually is. Because if you're going to hold your speech and then after the speech you hop into your private jet and heading off to somewhere else, it feels like it's very contradicting. Isn't exactly motivating. It's quite the opposite. So I think if you show that if politicians show that they actually care and do their best, which is would get more people to do their little parts as well. And the more people do the little parts, the better it is in the whole picture. I've got a few last questions that you might want to answer. I think, why do you think that so many people don't know enough about we can actually do on our own, like by ourselves? How you're planning to change that and motivate people to do their part? And what are your plans to lower the huge amount of plastic being used daily? And the last word, I just want to give my thanks for this opportunity. I think this is a great idea.
Well, thanks, Ruben. Now, here comes the Austrian Minister for Environment. Dear Mrs. Gewessler, you have the last word.
Oh, that's a special honor for this meeting. I pick up on Ruben because I totally agree that the time is over for words. The time is to act now. Because as you pointed out quite correctly, we know about the environmental issues that we have. We know about them for decades. We have, especially in climate protection, all the Austrian students know that probably we really have to get our act together and to catch up in many ways. Also, there are some areas where we're doing good, renewable electricity. There are other areas we really have a lot of work to do. Traffic, emissions from traffic, big issues. But the question that it's now time to act, that was my reason to go into politics. I was in civil society for many years, and I've been calling on politicians to actually do their part. And so when I had the chance and somebody asks me, do you think, would you be interested? Will you join us? I said, well, if I can do my part, then I will try to do my best to change that. And so that's where I am. That's why I ended up personally in this ministry, and that's why tonight I will hop on the night train to go to Luxembourg to go into the council meeting for the transport ministers. So I also try to show that we can do different things differently if we want to, if we try to, and if that inspires some more people to take the night train, I can really recommend it. I do it a lot. That's a good thing. But I'm here as a politician, and as you pointed out correctly, politicians have a great responsibilities. In the government, we make proposals. In the parliament, they vote on the proposals that will go into law, and that will be the rules that govern our life, how we live together, how we produce our products, how we want to be, or how we want to organize our traffic systems, how we want to produce our energy. That's all regulated, and that's the responsibility of politicians to make it as easy, as comfortable, as efficient, as also affordable as possible to do your share in terms of climate protection. So if we start with this question of plastics, you pointed out very correctly that if there's no choice in the supermarket, how can I do the right thing? Yeah. So the question is, my job is to make sure that things change, and so that actually people who want to contribute and to do something differently in their daily lives, they can actually do it. So that there is a night train instead of a flight, that there is a bus instead of having to take the car, that there is a different offer in the supermarkets instead of being having to rely on what's there. And I think that the question of littering in our streets, so trash that's just been carelessly thrown out, is something that I see a lot of people nodding when I think it was first Teresa and then also Ben who brought up the point that you see a lot of trash in the streets. That's really something that goes to people's hearts, because we live in beautiful countries, Greece and Austria, and we need to also take care of them. And so what we do in order to make that as easy as possible, and to actually have some progress in that field, all our actions are designed across what's called the waste hierarchy. So there is 5 points that if you talk about waste, whether it's plastic or glass or paper, whatever, the first point is you have to make sure you produce as little waste as possible. So prevention. Then you have to make sure that the products that we have, we can reuse them, we can repair them so that they are in use longer than just for minutes. Sometimes the things we buy, sometimes we only use them for minutes. Yeah. Then third step is recycling, and only at the end of this hierarchy is incineration and disposal. So we have to make sure that when we think about how to deal with plastics, how to deal with packaging, that first is always prevention, and then it goes down the hierarchy. So in terms of plastic packaging, we are just now designing a new, as first start with the European level, because both Greece and Austria joined the European initiative that's called the European Plastics Pact, where governments, industry, all actors that are in this value chain, in this area, work together to really bring down plastics packaging. And we also now just working on a new law. I can only say it now in German. It's this Abfallwirtschaftsgesetz, and I would probably translate it into something like a waste management law, where we put into this law that we have to reduce 20% of single-use plastics packaging by 2025. Because I totally share the point. It's super annoying if you unpack things 4, 5, 6 times and then there's the product. So we work we have this goal now in the law, and we work with all the industry also to work with them on what's the alternative. Does every magazine have to be wrapped in plastics? What's alternatives for other things? In terms of plastic bottles, that's also a key concern. So also in this law, we have one provision there that says supermarkets have to offer reusable bottles, because the more often you fill a bottle, the better for the environment, because it can be refilled up to 50 times. And then it's less waste because you use it longer. So as of with this law, we make sure that every supermarket in Austria has to offer reusable bottles. Not only for beer, I mean, we know it for beer, that's been there for a long time, but also for soda, for the lemonades, for everything you buy, there must be an offer in reusable bottles. That's the first in Europe. We're the first country to do this, actually. And then there's other plans for the bottle question. The one is also a deposit scheme. Many other countries have that already. Austria doesn't. So in Germany, it's a fund where when you buy your bottle, you are obliged you pay a little fee, and then you make sure that more people bring back actually the bottles, so they are correctly collected, and then also it's easier to recycle them. So that's 2 parts that we try to that we currently work on in terms of the bottles. In terms of fruit and vegetable, I totally agree. Food waste. You mentioned the ethical aspect of it. I think it's we live in rich societies, and that we throw away food while we know there's people in our country who would need it is something that we really, really need to stop. And so we work very intensely also there with all the people who work in this field, with social markets, with the supermarkets. So to make sure what do we need to do, what can we regulate? There's, for example, a law in France that prohibits supermarkets from throwing away food. So can we do that in Austria? What do we learn from France? What did work? What didn't really work? So that we can see how we can best implement it in Austria also. And there is a regulation that there's only we have a limit of a maximum level of organic waste. So meaning not only food, but there is all organic material in the residual waste, because we really want to make sure that with what we can do at the federal level, we make sure that we have the proper systems also in our regions, in our cities, that we can collect separately. And I will take Alma's question to the city of Vienna, because it really amazed me now that there is that there's a blank spot in the first district. I will take that to the city of Vienna and see what we can do there. But you're completely right that if we don't have the infrastructure ready, then it's difficult for people to collect separately and to do their share as easily as possible. And so that's very important that we can make progress there. And Teresa, you started on the masks and on COVID. That's indeed, I talked about that issue also with my colleagues from other countries. For example, just recently with my Swiss colleague, that's also very worried about that some of the things we got used to during the COVID pandemic, you mentioned online shopping, you mentioned many of the things, we need to also make sure we leave these bad habits of that year also behind. The question with all the materials that we use that have a medical connection, it's a bit more tricky. So the tests, we need to burn them, because otherwise we cannot be sure that we don't have a problem with the viruses. Yeah, there might be positive tests in there, so we need to that's why we need to make sure they are really in the residual waste bin and that they are burned, because that's for health reasons that we need to compromise, I fear, in that part on the recycling question. Masks is an issue. I saw lots of you nodding that we see a lot of masks in the environment. Also there, they need to go into residual waste. So we try to make information and to talk about it, that we're sure they land in the correct bin. But that's really an issue that we share. I think that we see a lot. If you have a creative idea how we can address this issue better, let me know. We'll do our part. And to conclude, I want to just mention want to pick up on one thing. I think the question of communication and the question of how we talk about the things that are important to you all, because I can feel that it's important to you what happens to our environment, how we deal with climate action. I think it's really important that we find the right words and easy and understandable language, because people act, yes, when there is the possibility, but people also act when they understand why. Why does it make sense? Why is it important? Why does it make my life better if we work in climate protection? And so I think the question of communication is really key. And it's not about marketing. It's not about campaigning it's about making sure we advance in the issues that are so important to us. And often people learn more from each other than from information from the government. So one of you said, we're not sure we have power. You have a lot of power when you talk about things. when you talk about your peers, what bothers you, what you want to change, when you stand up for the issues, when you take the opportunity and just talk to the ministers and tell them what you need, that's when you have power. When you get together and organize things, organize projects in school and talk about them, that's when you have so much power and influence. And I really want to encourage you to do that also in the future, because we need people who always remind the politicians that you're asking for more, that you're pushing us, and that it's your future that we're talking about. And so I got a lot of inspiration from your questions and from this meeting, and I'm very happy that we had the chance to talk about it. So just keep on doing it is my real request to you. And if you do it in a cooperation between Austria and Greece, even better.
Now, thank you so much, Mrs. Minister, for this address and for taking the time to be with us straight to the end. I really have to tell you, I have spent a year in the web doing remote events, and I just realized that I have had not an opportunity to have joined such a sweet and productive and inspiring event that just gives us all the power to keep moving and keep. I will have to say a great thank you to everybody, to really everybody, for the time discipline. This is as a moderator, right? Because I have not seen many events with such a professional, way to keep time limitations. Now, the second thing I would like to say as an expert is, I see that we have Greece, which is a country that has very pressing issues when it comes to protecting our greenlands, when it comes to protecting our water. It has a lot to do with the environment, and this is what the Greek students put forward. Of course, renewables as well. And then we have Austria, who are early starters. And this is why we have a lot to do with more technical issues, because we started actually with waste management as one of the first European countries back in the early 90s. And today we know exactly what it is about and what are the problems. So what we can here see by teaming you up, the Greek students and the Austrian students, is that we have so much to learn from each other. And more so that there is so much that we can do together. And this is where I would like to sum up and end as a moderator today. I have to really confess that I am honored and deeply moved, because in all the years, I have done lots of events, especially, of course, with Austrian students, but I have never had a chance to bring Greek and Austrian students together. And what I really see is what actually our minister also said, the Austrian minister, peer-to-peer learning and peer-to-peer connections, and what can be done on this. So I really have to say in the end, well, why not go ahead? Why not have a class and a few people of us coming to Greece and helping, in doing reforestation, and why not have a few people from Greece coming to Austria and seeing what we're talking about and the way it's being done. And by the way, it's never perfect. So yes, I will also give you feedback to Vienna. I still have some channels, So anyway, to sum it up, I said it's a sports idea that we end at exactly 2 o'clock Austrian time, 3 o'clock Greek time. So without further ado, I really have to tell you, I'm moved, I'm honored, I'm happy. Thanks for having me being part of this, and all the best. Keep going, connect to each other, do good things for the world. Thank you for today, and goodbye, everybody.